They will paint your portraits with silver wigs and serene eyes, holding prisms as if they were harmless toys. They will say an apple fell on your head, and the universe explained itself in a moment of bucolic peace. What a convenient lie. The truth is, the universe didn't willingly surrender to you. You had to wrench it from the hands of God by force, in dark rooms, breathing mercury vapors until your teeth softened and your mind fractured. You are the man who decoded gravity, but you lived your whole life floating in the vacuum, untouchable, incapable of loving anything that wasn't an equation or a furnace. The world sees the genius. You, in the mirror, see only the abandoned boy who threatened to burn his own mother alive. Greatness isn't a gift, Isaac. It's a life sentence inside your own head. It is Christmas morning, 1642. And you shouldn't be here. You were born in Woolsthorpe, premature, so tiny that the midwives swear you would fit inside a quart-sized beer mug. Your neck is so fragile, they need a special collar to hold your head up. The world outside is bleeding in the English Civil War, but the first war you know is the silence of that gray limestone manor house. Your father, the man whose name you carry, has already been a corpse in the cemetery for 3 months. You are an orphan before you even breathe the icy air of Lincolnshire. Your childhood doesn't smell like milk and affection. It smells like dust and abandonment. When you are 3 years old, the blow happens. Your mother, Hannah, remarries. Reverend Barnabas Smith wants the widow, but he doesn't want the puny son. You watch with your small, attentive eyes as she packs her bags. She goes to live in the neighboring rectory, only 1.5 miles away, but it might as well be the moon. She leaves you behind with your grandparents, who tolerate you but don't love you. You climb the stone wall of the garden and look toward the church tower where she lives with her new family. Hatred begins to germinate in your gut, cold and hard as a kidney stone. You don't play with the other children. You study them as if they were irritating insects. While they run through the fields, you build miniature windmills, water clocks that drip the time of your loneliness, kites with lanterns to terrorize the peasants at night. Your hands are always dirty with grease, sawdust, and ink. Loneliness is your only loyal companion, and you learn to prefer the company of gears to that of people. Machines don't lie. Machines don't abandon you. At school in Grantham, you live with an apothecary. The smell of dried herbs and chemicals becomes your cologne. You draw on the walls, carve your name into the wood of the benches, a desperate need to mark your existence in the world that tries to ignore you. But there is a darkness growing. In your notebook of sins, you record, in meticulous, shaky handwriting, the confession that will haunt you, threatening my father and Mother Smith to burn them and the house with them. You are less than 16 years old and already imagine the fire consuming the woman who rejected you. This contained rage is the fuel that decades later you will use to incinerate your academic rivals. But for now, it only burns your own chest. You return to the farm when your stepfather dies, and your mother expects you to be a farmer. You tending sheep. It's a cosmic joke. The sheep run away eating the neighbor's crops, while you lie in the grass, calculating the moon's orbit or building water wheels in the creek. You are useless for the earth because your mind already inhabits the stars. Cambridge welcomes you, but you are a sizar, a poor student who must serve the wealthy, empty their chamber pots, and wait on them to pay for your education. Social humiliation doesn't faze you. You barely notice the existence of these arrogant nobles. You are too busy reading Descartes and noting questions in your Questiones Quaedam Philosophicae. Plato is your friend, Aristotle is your friend, but your best friend is the truth. And then the world ends. The Great Plague of 1665 reaches London. The university closes. You are forced to return to Woolsthorpe. The isolation that would drive others mad is your paradise. It is here, in the absolute silence of the countryside, with death stalking the neighboring towns, that you accomplish the greatest intellectual feat in human history. You are 23 years old. In 18 months, you invent calculus, unravel the composition of light, and intuit universal gravitation. There is no apple falling in a moment of serene Eureka, there is feverish obsession. You spend days without eating, nights without sleeping, forgetting to put on your trousers, pacing the room, muttering equations. To understand light, you must go where no one has gone before. You close the windows, make a small hole in the shutter, and let a single sunbeam enter with a cheap glass prism. Bought at the Stourbridge Fair, you dissect white light and find the rainbow. But observing is not enough. You must feel. In an experiment that would make any sane man shudder, you take a bodkin, a thick sewing or punching needle, and insert it between your eye and the orbital bone. You push the metal deep into your skull, pressing the eyeball from behind, just to see the colored circles that the pressure creates in your vision. You risk total blindness for a glimpse into the mechanics of optics. The pain is irrelevant. The truth is everything. Your eye waters, throbs, inflames, but you note the results. You store these discoveries in a drawer. You do not publish. You are terrified they will steal your ideas, terrified of criticism, terrified of having to explain the inexplicable to mediocre minds. When you finally send your reflecting telescope to the Royal Society, Robert Hooke, a brilliant but vain man, dares to criticize your theory of colors. The hatred you feel is instantaneous and volcanic. You retreat like a turtle into its shell. You swear never to publish again. The paranoia begins to take deep root. You believe the intellectual world is a battlefield where everyone wants to devour your liver. And in the midst of this Cold War, you seek something deeper than physics. While the world thinks you are calculating orbits, you are hunched over fiery furnaces in your Trinity College laboratory, practicing alchemy. You seek the philosopher's stone, the secret to transmuting matter. Your notebooks are full of bizarre codes, recipes for the green lion and the red dragon. You spend entire nights inhaling vapors of lead, arsenic, and mercury. The metallic taste in your mouth is constant. You don't know it yet, but you are systematically poisoning the only instrument that matters, your brain. The search for divine purity is slowly rotting your human mind. The year is 1693, and the thread snaps. You send delirious letters to your few friends, John Locke and Samuel Pepys. You accuse them of trying to entangle you with women and of conspiring against your life. You haven't slept for 5 consecutive nights. Paranoia is no longer a personality trait. It is a psychosis. You shake, you hallucinate. You feel that gravity itself is crushing you. The mercury in your tissues is exacting its toll. The greatest genius in Europe is sitting in a messy room, wearing soiled clothes, crying and shouting against invisible enemies. The academic world whispers that Newton has gone insane. But you don't die. You recover, but something in you changed. Pure curiosity died. The desire for absolute control was born. You abandon academic life at Cambridge. You want power. You moved to London to become the warden of the Mint. They thought you'd be a distracted academic, signing bureaucratic papers. They were wrong. England is in a financial crisis, and money is being counterfeited on an industrial scale. You face this not as an economic problem, but as a scientific problem to be solved. You transform the Mint into a machine of relentless efficiency, but your true passion now is the hunt. You become a shadowy detective, you disguise yourself and go to the dirty taverns and fetid prisons of Newgate to interrogate informants. You pursue William Challoner, the greatest counterfeiter of the era, with the same obsession with which you pursued the orbit of comets. Challoner is charismatic, smart, and mocks you. He doesn't know who he's dealing with. You have no pity. You establish a spy network, bribe criminals, and accumulate meticulous evidence. You don't rest until you see Challoner dragged to the gallows at Tyburn. You don't watch the execution, but you know the exact moment he swings from the rope. While he suffocates, you are in your office, organizing perfectly minted gold coins. You sent dozens of men and women to their deaths. The law is an equation, and the result for crime is the gallows. There is no room for emotional variables. As president of the Royal Society, you become a tyrant. The dispute with Leibniz over who invented calculus isn't an academic debate. It's a war of extermination. You use your position to appoint an impartial committee to judge the case, a committee composed entirely of your friends. And then you anonymously write the final report yourself, declaring yourself the victor. You try to erase Leibniz from history. And what about Robert Hooke? When he dies, you take over the presidency, and mysteriously, the only painted portrait of Hooke disappears, along with his instruments. You don't just want to win, you want your enemies to cease to exist. Science is the search for truth, but your life became the pursuit of supremacy. You are revered as a demigod in London, named Sir by Queen Anne, but there was never a man so powerful and so absolutely alone. 84 years old, your body, which survived prematurity, plague, and mercury poisoning, is finally failing. The pain from the bladder stone is excruciating, as if you were giving birth to ground glass. You cough, and the sound echoes in the grand house in Kensington. You are rich, famous, a living legend. Voltaire writes about you. Kings bow down. But who is holding your hand? Your niece, Catherine, is there. Yes, but she tends to the icon, not the man. You never touched a woman romantically in your entire life. You die a virgin. The energy that could have been used to love, to raise children, to laugh, was all channeled into the cold understanding of the cosmos. In your final days, you refuse the last sacraments of the Anglican Church. It is your last and most dangerous secret. The world thinks you are a devout Christian who unlocked the laws of God. In reality, your secret biblical studies convinced you that the Trinity is a lie, an act of idolatry. You are an Arian, a heretic in the eyes of the Church that buries you. If they had read your trunks of theological manuscripts while you were alive, you would have been imprisoned, not knighted. You lived a double life until your last breath, concealing your true faith with the same zeal with which you concealed your calculations. You look back at the vastness of your work. The world calls you a giant, but in a rare moment of humble clarity, or perhaps final melancholy, you whisper the truth about how you see yourself. I do not know what I may appear to the world, but to myself I seem to have been only like a boy playing on the seashore, and diverting myself in now and then finding a smoother pebble or a prettier shell than ordinary, whilst the great ocean of truth lay all undiscovered before me. You close your eyes on March 20th, 1727. The pain stops. The great clock of the universe keeps ticking, indifferent to the stopping of your heart. They will make a death mask of your face. They will bury you in Westminster Abbey like a king. They will erect a statue where you gaze into the infinite. Majestic, but the cold stone of the statue has the same temperature your heart had in life. You gave us the keys to understanding the heavens, Isaac, but you died without ever having unlocked the mystery of how to live among men on earth. You paid the ultimate price, so that we could fly in airplanes, land on the moon, and predict eclipses with second-to-second precision. You had to sacrifice your humanity on the altar of reason. Today we look at your laws and see perfection. But if we could look inside your soul in that solitary room, we would see only the chaos and fear of a boy who was never hugged enough. Was it worth it, Isaac? Does the immortality of your name compensate for the empty mortality of your life? The universe is mechanical, predictable, and logical thanks to you, but perhaps, just perhaps, in the silence of your marble tomb, you would trade all the laws of motion for a single day of a common, imperfect life, full of human warmth. Or perhaps, for someone like you, that would be the true hell.